How's it going, Rogues Gallery, and welcome to another Flesh and Blood video here on Red Zone Rogue. Today we are talking about my top 10 favorite cards from Tales of Aria. This is something that I do for every single new Flesh and Blood set, and Tales of Aria is no exception because it might just be one of my favorite sets they've ever done. I think Arcane Rising might be my favorite set, but Tales of Aria is really giving it a run for its money. The flavor, the themes, just the cards, the Ranger support. I'm super stoked for this. So yeah, these are going to be my top 10 favorite cards. They're not necessarily the top 10 best cards, though. There's a lot of really powerful stuff on this list. Before we get started, I do want to mention if you're looking to pick up any of the cards on today's list, definitely check out Channel Fireball and use my promo code ROGUE at checkout. It goes and supports me, and I greatly appreciate it. Channel Fireball actually had a major revamp of their website and their marketplace, and now they're incorporating like local game stores that can sell through their marketplace, kind of like a TCG player kind of thing, which is awesome. So if you go there, you buy, a box of Tales of Aria or any of these singles, and use promo code ROGUE, it goes and supports me, and it supports that local game store that you're buying from. So win-win in my opinion. So yeah, let's get started with the top 10. There's some really fun stuff on here, so I cannot wait. Let's do it. All right, so I've already lied to you. We're doing a little bit more than 10 cards for today's video. The set is so sweet, I could not just narrow it down to 10. There's just so much I want to talk about here. And the first one we're going to talk about, as you can see on the screen already, is Corsham Crossroad of Elements. These are in no particular order except for Corsham, because this is kind of a gimme. I mean, it's a really spicy, flashy, fabled card. So what is Corsham Crossroad of Elements? Well, it's an elemental action landmark very close to the Great Library of Solana, but it has very interesting wording. It says, when you arrive at the legendary Corsham, go again. Whenever a hero reveals a card, they gain a resource, or they gain 1 life, or their next attack this day gains +1, or the next attack action card they defend with this day gains +1 defense. At sunset each day, depart Corsham if no hero gained any of those things. Resources, life, plus attack, or plus defense. And so what that basically means, if you parse that out, is when you play this card, go again. It's a legendary card. You can only have one of them in your deck. Whenever a hero reveals a card from any effect, so like fusing, for example, they can choose to do one of these things. They can either gain a resource, or gain a life, or their next attack this turn gains +1 attack, or the next attack action card they defend with this turn gains +1 defense. At the end of the turn, you destroy Corsham unless a hero gained one of those things. So how good is this card? I'm not sure. On the surface level, it seems really sweet. And if I pulled one, I would definitely be playing it in my Lightning Lexi, but I have not, so I have not been able to test it. It seems really cool. It's a really tricky card because someone has to gain one of these things a turn to keep this around. So your opponent can just not do that, and it would just be destroyed on their turn. However, you can do little cheeky ways to gain life or pump up stuff, so you can kind of keep it around. You can even like use your Fyendal Spring Tunic on your opponent's turn, for example, to gain a resource for no reason, and keep this around so you can have it on your turn. There's some tricky stuff you can do. It's very interesting. I'm not sure how good this is. It seems good. It does seem really good, and the art is absolutely beautiful, so I had to include it on this list. It's freaking Corsham. It's the big old center tree of Aria, and you gotta love it. The next card is Awakening. Awaken. Every time I see this card, I make that reference. If you know, you know. This is a 2-cost blue pitch majestic elemental guardian instant. It has Earth Fusion. It doesn't block because it's an instant. It has a really cool effect. So it says, if you have less life than an opposing hero, create Seismic Surge tokens equal to the difference. If Awakening was fused, instead create twice that many Seismic Surge tokens. Then you get to search your deck for a Guardian attack action card with cost less than or equal to the number of Seismic Surge tokens you control. Reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle your deck. It's an instant, so you really want to do this on your opponent's turn. Create a bunch of Seismic Surge tokens, grab your heaviest hitting card, and then on your turn, all your Seismic Surge tokens will pop, reducing the cost of your card, and then you just come on in and slam. You slam a jam with that card and deal massive damage. I love it. I love everything about this card. I love the tutoring. I love the kind of way you just generate a whole bunch of Seismic Surge tokens. Just, it screams fun to me. This is a fun card, and I think it's also quite good. And The art, once again, the art is astounding. Have you seen this in foil? It is amazing. And this artist, Nathaniel Himawan, is absolutely fantastic. I apologize if I mispronounce your name, but excellent stuff. Next up, okay. Voltaire, strike twice. This is probably going to be one of my most played cards from the set because I'm going to be playing a lot of Lexi, and Voltaire is amazing in Lexi. So it's a ranger weapon bow, two-handed, twice per turn instant for a resource. You may put an arrow card from your hand face up into an empty arsenal zone you control. If you do, choose one. It gains +1 until end of turn, or it gains go again until end of turn. This is very interesting because it works really, really well with another card we'll talk about, New Horizon, whereas the other bows don't really, because this one just says put it into a face up, or put it face up into an empty arsenal zone you control. Usually the other ones have stipulations, and I'll put them up on screen right here so you can read the difference. But Voltaire being able to just put it into an empty arsenal zone is really, really good. I think the way the other ones are worded is if you have no cards in your arsenal, do this. Well, this one lets you do it already if you have a card in your arsenal. So you can, this is a way to load up 2 in your arsenal with another card we'll talk about. And that +1 and that go again. This card is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Windmill Slam for Lightning Lexi and probably all other versions of Lexi as well. Next up we have, another Lexi card, Frostlock. This is very different from the last card. This one goes in very specific deck. So this is a 1-cost Majestic Elemental Ranger Arrow attack. It has a defense of 3, an attack of 3, pitches for blue. It has Ice Fusion, and it says cards and activated abilities cost opposing heroes an additional resource this turn. So that means anytime they want to block with a defense reaction, it's going to cost an additional resource. So that's very, very important, especially when combined with the next part where it says, if Frostlock was fused, it gains +1, and if this hits a hero, until end of their next turn, they can't pitch or play cards with base cost 0. Holy smokes, this hoses over. It's like, hey, Chain, I already know you're down and out, but hey, no, none of that. Or hey, Katsu, none of that. You can't pitch any of those 0-cost cards. You can't play any of those 0-cost cards. And the fact that it kind of taxes them on their defense reactions is so good. It's so good because it's going to be coming in for 4, which is a good break point anyway. So it's going to, force them to block with at least 2 cards to block that out, or play a defense reaction, which is going to cost them a resource, which will basically cost them 2 cards anyway. So Frostlock is really good. Really good. And your opponent's not going to want this to hit, unless, of course, it doesn't matter, right? So this either matters a lot, or it doesn't matter at all. But when it does matter, it's going to be a big freaking deal. Next up, we have another Ranger card. We have Light It Up. These aren't all Ranger cards, trust me. Light It Up is amazing. First of all, art is fantastic. Second of all, it's just really sweet. So there's a 1-cost Elemental Ranger attack arrow attack. Blocks for 3, attacks for 4. It's a Lexi specialization, Lightning Fusion. If Light It Up was fused, it gains, if this hits a hero, deal 1 damage to them for each equipment they control. Important to note, weapons are not equipment. It has to literally say the word equipment on it. If Light It Up deals damage to a hero, if Light It Up deals damage to a hero equal to or greater than the number of equipment they control lose and can't gain activated abilities until the end of their next turn. Pretty good for hosing over Tunic and a bunch of other stuff. So Light It Up is actually incredibly fantastic, really, really good, can do an absurd amount of damage, and yeah, it's just great. There's one thing to note, though. It says if it hits a hero, deal 1 damage to them for each equipment they control, not when it deals damage to them, so that can only really proc once, and that matters for another card we're going to talk about. Next up, we have a non-Ranger card with Blossoming Spellblade. Once again, absolutely beautiful artwork. This is a 2-cost Elemental Rune Blade attack action coming in for 6 damage and 3 defense. This is a Earth and Lightning Fusion. You have to do both, but if you can, it's really sweet. So it says, if Blossoming Spellblade was fused, it gains, whenever this deals damage to an opposing hero, you may banish a non-attack action card from your graveyard. If you do, you may play it this turn as though it were an instant, and if it would be put into your graveyard instead, banish it. That is awesome. There's so many sweet things you can get. Baseline level, you can get Read the Runes or any other damage dealing non-attack. You can get a lot of stuff. That's awesome. And it says, when you attack with Blossoming Spellblade, if it was fused, deal 1 arcane damage to target hero. Well, that basically means if that arcane damage goes through, you can do that first ability twice, because it says whenever this deals damage which is huge. So if you can load this card up with effects that deal like incremental, like little ping damage, like incidental ping damage, I meant, you can get that effect multiple times. So being able to fuse this is a big deal, and just being able to play a ton of non-attacks is crazy, So especially zero cost non-attacks, like once again, read the runes. Oh, this is sweet. I love this card. I love everything about this card. It's super cool. It might be Magical Christmas Land. I don't know how hard it is going to pull off, but it's awesome. Next up, we have the card that I've been alluding to, Shock Charmers. This is an lightning equipment. It's an arm slot. It has an instant effect of 2 resources. The next time an attack action card you control hits a hero this turn, it deals 1 damage to them. It also has Spell Void too. So you can combine this with any card that has a when this deals damage effect, like that Blossoming Spellblade we just pointed out, to deal an extra point of damage, and thusly proccing that when it deals damage clause again. So, for example, if we use this in conjunction with the Blossoming Spellblade, say your opponent does not have any Arcane Barrier, right? They're like, oh, they're playing Briar, I don't need Arcane Barrier for some reason. Or they just don't have the resources. Well, if you fuse the Blossoming Spellblade, they will take 1 damage from the Arcane from Blossoming Spellblade, and if they take the hit from Blossoming Spellblade, that's another source of damage, and it'll proc the Shock Charmers, which will deal another source of damage. Also, I should note, the source of damage from Shock Charmers is not Arcane, it's just 1 damage, which is very, very hard to prevent here. So that could possibly proc the Blossoming Spellblade 3 times. Just basically, just imagine like easiest case scenario. I just keep thinking of Read the Runes. Playing 3 Read the Runes for free from your bin. Yes, please. Yeah, this is crazy. Yeah, I love this card. This is so good, and so many other decks too. I really like this in like an Ice Lexi, where we have all these like when this deals damage, create a Frostbite token or whatever. Really, really cool stuff. I really like Shock Charmers, and once again, beautiful, beautiful artwork. Next up, we have another legendary, Rampart of the Ram's Head. This has some of the coolest templating of any card in this entire set. This is a Guardian equipment offhand, so any Guardian can use this, including Bravo. When you defend with Rampart of the Ram's Head, you may pay 1 resource. If you do, it gains +1 until end of turn. And it's, it's an offhand. What's so cool about this is if your opponent breaks the chain and you can block with this again, then you can pay that resource again and it gains another +1. So every time you block with this, if they keep breaking the chain, it keeps getting stronger for that turn, which is pretty good. So yeah, I really like Rampart of the Ram's Head. I think it's quite good. It's really good against classes like Mechanologists, where they keep breaking the chain and shooting you. Really good. Next up, we have Tear Asunder. Can you look at this art? First of all, look at this art. Which metal band do you think should be posted, like their logo should be posted above this dude's head? Because there totally should be one. I think the go-to is like Amon Amarth. Let me know in the comments which metal band pairs with Tear Asunder. There's got to be other ones. Anyway, Tear Asunder is a 3-cost Guardian action with 3 defense. It says your next Guardian attack this turn gains +1. That's a little bit. Dominate. Oh, that's pretty good. And if it hits a hero, they discard 2 cards. What? And it has Go Again. This card is nuts. And a key thing, your next Guardian attack this turn, not Guardian attack action card, Guardian attack. So you can pump up hammers. You can pump up weapons with this. This card is so good. Just imagine this plus a blue means you can come in with your freaking hammer for an absurd amount with Dominate, and this on hit discard 2 cards effect. This card's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And always put this in all of your Guardian decks because it's that good. Next up, we have my favorite card, my actual favorite card of the whole set, with New Horizon, the legendary Ranger equipment. It has a defensive 2 and Blade Break, and it says, while you have a face-up card in your arsenal, you have an additional arsenal zone. That's only if you have a face-up card in your arsenal, which is very, very important. It also says when New Horizon is destroyed, destroy all cards in your arsenal. You're probably not going to block with this until you're about to die anyway, but getting 2 arsenal zones basically makes it so you can set up turns where you have 6 cards in your hand, your 2 arsenal slots plus your 4-card hand. You can do some really, really cool stuff with this. I like New Horizon a lot, especially in conjunction with Voltaire, like we talked about at the start, where all of the other bows are very, very interesting. They're like, when you activate the bow, you can only put a card in your arsenal if there's no cards in your arsenal, like Death Dealer. But Voltaire is like, If you have an empty zone, slap it on in. So yeah, I love New Horizon. The art is absolutely fantastic. Seeing this card in cold foil is absolutely brilliant. Easily my favorite card of the set. If it's not the chase card, it is for me. It is for me. Next up, we have my spoiler card, or one of my 2 spoiler cards for Tales of Aria. I was also able to spoil the Bow Shiver. This is Seek and Destroy. I love this card for a lot. It's not super good, but it's pretty good. So it's a 0-cost ranger action with awesome artwork, blocks for 2. Your next arrow attack gains +3, which is good by itself. You know, 0-cost +3, pretty good. You're going to put this in basically every Azalea deck because it's a 0-cost +3. It also says if it hits a hero, at the beginning of their next end phase, they discard all cards from their hand and destroy all cards in their arsenal. They still get a draw up, right? So it doesn't deprive them of a hand. But what it does do is it gets rid of whatever they're trying to set up, right? It gets rid of all of their prep work, which is great. Especially if you put this on a dominated red in the ledger where they can only take 1 action. It is super good. Super, super good. Like, you know, this plus a dominated red in the ledger coming in for 8. It's going to be really hard to block. Then they're only going to have 1 action point during their next turn. Or they can only take 1 action during their next turn. And then all their stuff is destroyed. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I think of this card more as a good tempo card rather than a game-winning card. This is a card that'll help you gain a little bit of tempo advantage over the course of a game. It's not going to win you the game on the spot, not going to swing things around, but it'll give you some tempo advantage. It'll help destroy whatever your opponent's trying to set up. So I really like this card for multiple reasons, not just because it's my spoiler card. If it wasn't my spoiler card, I'd still like it because I love Azalea. But yeah, I like it. I think it's cool. Ooh, next up we have Spellbound Creepers with art by Bima. This is a Rune Blade leg equipment. It's a legendary. It has a defense of 1. It has a once per turn instant and then an entire essay after it. It says, for a resource, put a bind counter on Spellbound Creepers. You may play your next non-attack action card this turn as though it were an instant. Activate this ability only if you have attacked or defended with an attack action card this turn. At the beginning of your end phase, destroy Spellbound Creepers unless you have dealt arcane damage equal to or greater than the number of bind counters on Spellbound Creepers. This is very interesting. This is a very interesting card. So you can actually get some like cheeky stuff out of this because it's an instant effect and then it lets you play a non-attack action as though it were an instant if you have defended with an attack action card on your opponent's turn. So if your opponent's attacking and you defend with an attack action card, you can activate this and play your non-attack as an instant. And then you can play another non-attack as an instant on your turn if you've attacked with an attack action card. So you can kind of get multiple uses out of this even without that arcane damage clause on the second part. I think this card is really good and I think it will see a lot of play. And it has amazing artwork. This is like the trifecta. This is going to be one of the best cards, or one of the most played cards in the set, in my opinion. A lot of Rune Blades are going to want to play the Spellbound Creepers, including me. For Viserai and Briar, and I don't know, maybe Chain, but definitely Viserai and Briar. Next up, speaking of Viserai and Briar and Chain, we have Sting of Sorcery. Look at this artwork, by the way. Look at this. Okay, this card is a 0-cost blue pitch card, Rune Blade action aura with go again. So first of all, it's a non-attack action, which is really good for Viserai. It also says, attack action cards you control gain. When you attack with this, deal 1 arcane damage to target hero. At the beginning of your end phase, destroy Sting of Sorcery. So for your entire turn, it just gains, all of your attacks gain, you know, when you attack with this, deal 1 arcane damage to target hero. This is super cool. It also amplifies all of those, you know, effects that are like when this deals damage, do X. So this works really well with that Blossoming Spellblade. And it also just works really well for dealing a ton of damage. Obviously, this is good with Chain, where you can just play a whole bunch of cards. Maybe not anymore because Chain can't do as much these days, but still, it's still quite good. Also really good for a Viserai deck where it's really go wide. I can see turns where you can set up a Sonata, like a really big Sonata combo turn with a Sting of Sorcery, maybe in your arsenal, playing the Sting of Sorcery first and then playing your Sonata from hand, and then just kind of going off, and all of your attacks that you play in that turn do an extra little arcane damage. I don't know how good that is, but that's where my mind goes to. So I love this card. It's really sweet, and it's definitely going to see some play. There's a lot of cool applications with this card. And that's going to be it for my top 10 Tales of Aria cards, where it was actually like top 14 or something like that. I think the set is awesome. There's so many cool things to do with this set, with the elements, with the new heroes, you know, incorporating some of the cards into old heroes like the Spellbound Creepers and the cards like the Rampart of the Ram's Head. I think there's just so much cool stuff going on here. I really love this set. It's got to be one of my favorite sets in the game so far. Let me know in the comments down below what some of your favorite cards are in this set. I think there's a ton of stuff to choose from, so I would not be surprised if some of your favorite cards were not on my list. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for some more excellent Flesh and Blood content. I love how I said subscribe. Thank you. Thank you once again. This channel is professional. This is a professional Flesh and Blood channel. Thanks for watching, everyone, once again, and I will see you next time.